Hello everyone, Mr. Van Dzura here, and today we're going to be talking about the Woodwind family, our second instrument family of the orchestra. So just like when we talked about the string family, there are characteristics within the woodwind family that are similar between all of the instruments. It's kind of like how your own family is made up. You have things that are similar and different in your own family. Let's talk about some of those similarities. Most of these instruments are originally made from wood, although they are different today. Now these instruments are made from more things such as brass, silver, cane, gold, and platinum. The mouthpiece for these instruments can be one of three different options. It could be a fixed hole, which is like the flute and piccolo, a single reed, so one piece of wood, like the clarinet and the saxophone, or a double reed, so two of those reeds put together, or two pieces of wood tied together, and that's seen in the oboe as well as the bassoon. These instruments in the woodwind family are divided into two main groups, either flutes, which have that fixed hole, or reed instruments, which either have a single or double reed. All of these instruments are seen in the orchestra, as well as many of them being in the concert band as well. Here are some more facts about the woodwind family. Woodwinds are any instrument that is played by forcing air past a vibrating reed or across an opening hole. So that means what we talked about before is true. All of the woodwind instruments either have that fixed hole or they have a reed or double reed that vibrates the wind to make the sound. Woodwinds are made of all kinds of materials, but mainly now they're made of wood and metal. So when you look at, for instance, a clarinet, you'll see both wood and metal making up the instrument. A reed is a small piece of cane wood that is used on the mouthpiece. We've talked a lot about single reeds and double reeds already, and if you look to the right, you can see an example of a single reed. It's a small piece of wood with different materials on it, or different feel to it. The top part is where you put your lips, and the bottom part is where it connects with the mouthpiece. A double reed is different in that both of the sides are cane rather than part of a mouthpiece. So if you look down to the bottom in that middle, that picture there, and the picture to the left hand, those are both double reeds. So you can see they look a little different from the single reed that you see on the top and on the far right. So now let's talk about one of our woodwind instruments. Here we have the clarinet. The clarinet is a popular woodwind instrument. It is an instrument with the widest range of the woodwind family. So when we talk about range, we talk about how low and how high that instrument can play. This doesn't mean that the clarinet plays the lowest or plays the highest, it just means that it has the widest window that it can play. So its low to high is the biggest of any of the instruments. It is held up to down, so like you can see it where it's by itself. Unlike how Squidward is playing at the top, the clarinet is actually played so it goes down your body, so from the mouth down to about your belly button area. And the clarinet is a single reed instrument, so it only uses one of those single reeds, which you can see in the bottom left picture. Now let's listen to a little bit of what the clarinets sound like.
Yeah, we're with the pet hospital down the street, and I understand you have a dying animal on the premises.
Hello, you've reached the house of unrecognized talent. Please start after the...
The next instrument we're going to talk about today is the saxophone. Now, the saxophone looks like it could be a brass instrument. If you look at the color, it looks a lot like the trumpet and trombone. However, it is a woodwind instrument because of how it makes its sound. Mainly, the saxophone is a single reed instrument, so it has one of those reeds at the top of the mouthpiece. The saxophone is also one of the main instruments of jazz. There are four main types of saxophones: the soprano, the alto, the tenor, and the baritone. And as we say those from soprano down to baritone, we get lower with sound. So the soprano is the highest sounding saxophone, then the baritone is the lowest sounding saxophone. And it is held up and down. When we play the video in a second here, you can see how he's holding the saxophone, how it's held up to down. Let's hear a little bit of what the saxophone sounds like now. Moving on to our next instrument, we have the flute. The flute is one of the instruments that has the fixed hole at the top. Originally, the flute was made from wood, but now is made out of a silver nickel material. The flute is played by blowing the breath across the opening hole. It plays high pitches, but not quite as high as the piccolo, and it is held horizontal from side to side. When you play the flute, it's a lot like playing if you blow across a bottle or a jug to make the sound. Let's listen to what the flute sounds like now. And moving right along, we next get to the piccolo. Piccolo means little flute in Italian, so it is literally just a smaller flute. It is the smallest instrument of the woodwind family and plays the highest pitches in the woodwind family as well as the entire orchestra. It is also played horizontally, so a lot like the flute, and there is no reed, just a fixed hole, a lot like the flute. So it is essentially just a smaller version of the flute. Because it is smaller, like we learned with the string family, the smaller the instrument, the higher the pitch. So this is what the piccolo sounds like. You'll notice how it is higher than the flute and is also the highest of all of the woodwind instruments. Next we have the oboe. The oboe looks a lot like the English horn, which you may have seen before. Snake charmers used to use this instrument. The oboe is a double reed instrument, which means that it has two of those wooden pieces tied together. It is also held up and down, like you can see in the picture to the right here. This is what the oboe sounds like. And moving right along, we get to the bassoon. The bassoon is the largest instrument in the woodwind family, coming in at almost 8 feet long. It plays the lowest sound in the family and the lowest sound in the orchestra. It is held vertically, and most of the time you need to play it sitting down because it is so tall. And it is also a double reed instrument, with the reed being even bigger than the oboe's reed. You can see a picture of it down below. Here's what the bassoon sounds like. The woodwind family sound. Woodwinds are played by blowing into them through a reed or across the top of a hole cut into the instrument. The noise comes from vibrating air resonating inside of the tube. To change the pitch, the player opens or closes holes cut into the instrument with his or her fingers by pushing levers or keys that cover the holes. So that's a review of the Woodwind family. Now that we've heard all of them, listened to them, that covers everything. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we're ready to move on to the next step.